Cody Janzen is back, play-by-play for the Saskatchewan Rush. The owner of the Crusaders, or GM, I don't know how that works. And, of course, you're really good at radio. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, man. Happy to be here. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. By the way, the people from Montana already taking shots as they should. Dawson Nielsen. I don't know if he means that he's on the trading block, but he says there's a new GM on the block. So there's that for you. It is what it is.
Talks cheap.
That's fair enough. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, again, we're almost at the NLL season, so summer was awesome. And again, can't wait to get back in the big barn.
Hey, listen, man, the Rush, after a great season, I believe they should start packing the barn even more so. I want to ask you about this because I'd asked you about this off air before. That just Mike Messenger play, the more and more I think about it, where he causes the turnover that even the broadcast couldn't even catch in real time. Is that one of, if not the best defensive play in NLL history? I mean, the magnitude of the moment, like, how are we feeling about that play?
Yeah, I've talked about it in plenty, and I think it's a top three, like, defensive play of all time. I don't know if it's a top three play of all time, but again, I think what makes stuff like that so special and just showcases it, like, this isn't a shot at TSN for missing it, but like, you see the alternate angles that like 11 Creative got. Shout out Connor Tate. The guy just crushes it. But like, it's such an impressive play. And just to think that if you don't invest in that type of media support, no one would have saw that. And that's where I think, hey, this is an unbelievable play. I think this is also a lesson that can be learned for everyone, and that you have to invest if you want to showcase your product, right? Because I think that the NLL, some teams do okay at it, but you really have to do a lot more if you want to compete with the big boys. I mean, I just think of the whole what if, like, what if Connor Tate wasn't there? No one would have saw it from that angle, man. Like, it would have just, everyone would have just gone off of whatever was on the TV. Like, that's how I think of things. I guess from a play perspective, it was freaking incredible. Rush fans obviously loved it. It was
everyone knows that.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think of like the whole what ifs, and man, we are so lucky in SAS to have a guy like Tater.
No, I'm glad you went there, because it's even like if the person doing the production of the camera work is still great at their job. It's a lesson to not take things for granted, because was it Ryan Tarafanko that had the ball, one of the best transition guys in the league? You can't just assume he's going to clear because Mike Messenger had other plans. But I like that take from you. I thought it was great. It was like kind of like Will Chamberlain's 100-point game. If like we had a Connor Tate back then, like, people would appreciate it more probably.
100%.
Let's go to Montana now, even though I didn't. That's a shame. The Crusaders went back-to-back, led by a man named Ethan Forgrave, who we'll get to. But what was your takeaway just from the Montana in the barn in general? How was that experience for you, boots on the ground?
Yeah, it was another crazy fall. That was, again, a lot of unexpected twists and turns, a lot of things that I don't think anyone could predict. But like, looking back on it as a whole, I think, again, it's another huge success. We continue to grow the game down there. You see the number of teams double. You see the youth lacrosse exploding. And like, I can't take credit for that. That's a Ryan Hanavan project, and everything that he puts in there. And he does it better than, I would say that there is no better youth lacrosse program for working with what they're working with than what Brown Bear Lacrosse is doing in Missoula, right? Like what Ryan Hanavan's doing, and it's just continuing to grow the game. We're just a subsidy of that. We're the ones that, we're putting a product in there that the kids are able to now go and watch and see really high-end players, elite level players play in their backyard. And it's just growing the game of box lacrosse, right? It's, they're not lucky enough yet to get an unboxed team or anything like that. They're not getting support from anyone else. It's all what Ryan's doing. And so the Montana Lacrosse League, we just want to be somewhere that, those players, whether you're in high school, whether you're in college, whether, you're aspiring to be a pro player, whatever it is, it's an opportunity to play. It's an opportunity, where, there's no team fees, no nothing like that. And you're playing for cash. And so I think that that's something that there's not a lot of opportunities like that, especially not in the time of year of October. So I thought it was awesome. Again, it's just great to see the barn packed again too, right? The fans are awesome. That's what makes it. It's that environment. It's being in the barn, having that place buzzing. It's second to none, man. I've seen a ton of summer ball, and I got a hard time putting any of those atmospheres up with the barn for a championship game between the Rockhoppers and Crusaders.
And obviously, people will talk about it as a smaller field, but I'm like, to me, that almost makes it awesome because, a lot of these guys, like Jake Nisso last year, etc., a lot of these guys have not played box at all. And so it's almost like a fun little development thing, but it's so intimate in there. It's so, close. I actually like that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the negativity just comes from the uneducated, right? It's the people who, their first reaction, for lack of a better term, is just to shit on things they're not involved with. And that's where, again, it doesn't matter what people say about it, because I truly believe that it's not going to be for everyone, right? Getting to Missoula, Montana is not the easiest. That's not for everyone. There's not $1 million behind it. We don't have the money the WLA, the MSL, or certain teams at least have, right? So it's not for everyone, because you can't just go and throw an unlimited bankroll at people, right? It's not 5-on-5. Okay, so it's not for everyone. That's totally fine. That's the Montana way. It's what makes the barn special. It's what makes the league special. And it does, make those field lacrosse players better at box lacrosse because they're forced to play in tight confines. They're forced to get hit into the boards. You can't hide like you can on a full, field playing 5v5. You can sometimes hide a defender back there. No, I'd put them right in the thick of things. Do you think of the Jake Nasos? I think of the Peter Currans. There's a lot of those guys who have, they've played high-end field lacrosse. Now they're becoming box lacrosse players, and it's freaking awesome to see, because you can see it with the Grizz club team too, right? They go to Battle of the Border after a few years of just getting the break speed off of them, and now they're dominating some of the best Canadian junior lacrosse players. That's cool, man. That's something in my book that is way more important than anything that the Montana League, anything like that can do, because now we're showing, hey, these Americans can ball out. We've seen it at, some of the highest levels, and now you're seeing it at the lower levels. I think that's huge for box lacrosse.
One thing I'll say about it is, if there was a barn equivalent in the Savannah, Georgia area, I'd be locked in year-round to that place. We have the Jacksonville Swamp Pups school thing, which I'm going to honestly, because it's close enough, I'm going to try to get involved in a barn. Anybody would love a barn if there is, especially if there's no NLL team around them, which there's not in Montana. Why not? It's such a great atmosphere. I do want to get to this before we move fully into the NLL talk. Ben Foster, I guess, is getting a chance in Calgary. I'm not sure how that roster movement is working. What do you think Ben Foster, seeing him with the Crusaders, and obviously his game, I'm sure, what do you think Ben Foster can offer an NLL team like Calgary Roughnecks?
I thought they released him, didn't they? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
They made a graphic, and I'm like, I don't know what happened. But just tell me in general. Tell me in general.
Maybe I'm wrong, but again, I think that's a guy that's a no-brainer for a practice roster, right? He lives in Calgary. He's minutes away from the barn, and he's got all the tools you need to be an NLL player. He needs that coaching. He needs those reps. He needs that opportunity to get back to a high level of play again. But he proves it every summer, in the RMLL, that he's one of the best right-handed forwards. He's toe-to-toe with a guy like Brett McIntyre. And I think that those are two very similar players. They're both Calgary kids. It's crazy to me that the Roughnecks wouldn't keep a guy like that, at least on their practice roster, because if need be, that guy could step into an NLL game and be a depth forward. But there is Alberta, I don't know, prejudice, bias, whatever you want to call it, anti-bias, where hey, if people are from Alberta, the lacrosse folks from BC and Ontario still just absolutely hate them. And so, like, it's the reason why someone like Ben Foster won't get a chance on other teams. And, similar things. We've talked about it with Ethan Forgrave before. I've seen you pumping his tires. I get to see that guy, up close with the Crusaders. And, like, I'll tell you for free, man, I've seen every lacrosse team in the NLL over the last 3-4 years. Forgrave could play on half of them, and he could play a pretty damn big role. Like, that's it just because he's an Edmonton guy. It's just because, maybe he hasn't. Well, he's coming off the injury, but again,
yes, but that was a year ago.
And I've seen, we've seen some of the suspect players on practice rosters and even active rosters in this league. Like, you're going to tell me Ethan Forgrave isn't better than half a dozen plus of them? I think you're full of it. I know Patty likes Alberta guys, but I'm meaning people in management and coaches.
Yeah, of course. And again, just put the bow on this. I watching Montana Lacrosse League, there's a lot of newer players, obviously, but Jake Naso and Ben Foster and Ethan Forgrave, certain guys stand out, and that to me absolutely matters because they're clearly a touch above. Even if other players can get there, they to me are already there, and that speaks volumes about going to, like you said, at least a practice roster. So it is what it is. All right, let's do the rush now. You ready?
Man, I'm ready for anything.
Stars up.
I'm happy to be here.
That's right. So appreciate you. I'm happy to have you here. So takeaways from the Rush preseason game. I'm sure you've watched it back. It is available on NLL Plus for rewind. Thank God. Pat Gregoire also wants to chime in that what player were you most impressed with in the exhibition game? I'll ask you again just general thoughts, and if you want to touch on that, go ahead as well.
Oh, who impressed me the most? That's a loaded question because I'd say that there wasn't a lot of the new guys who really impressed me. I thought that there was a couple of really good shifts that Julian Belair had. I think it's Belair. I could be mispronouncing that. I thought Dagan Carlson made a couple of great plays up front. I think for returnees, like Brock Haley just absolutely can rip the rock. Like, that guy can shoot the ball so good. If he dials it in this year, like, he's scoring 30 plus. And then I really like Matt Accioni's game. I thought that Accioni, if he can use his speed, if he can stay healthy, if he can, continue to up that physical presence on defense because he is a little bit smaller, man, he's going to be an absolute weapon. So, yeah, maybe not so much the newcomers because the game was a bit of a sleeper and you can kind of see it from the start the toes were in the water, but they certainly weren't swimming on this one. And so I think that there was only a few performances that really stuck out. And I guess we'll see what happens in Calgary here next weekend.
Now that seeing Pat and you talk about Brock Haley, I feel like you guys just saw the shoes and it stood out to you. I don't know. Kidding. Jake Naso, to be fair, did play, and he was pretty dominant most of that game. I think Shiliano actually only played the first quarter, and then Rose played a bunch. So it was
okay. Let me give you your clip though. Here's one of my biggest takeaways, if not my biggest takeaway. I hate that hit on Jake Naso off the face-off. When was it Grennan, whoever clocked him on the side of the head late there. I hate stuff like that. You have to give a damn if you're that, if you're wearing a sweater that's green on it and you see your face-off guy get taken advantage on a greasy play off the draw. I get it. Grennan's tough, crazy, whatever. I think that there has to be that buy-in factor. You cannot let one of your guys, especially one of your smallest guys, get taken advantage. I didn't like that. I hated the hit to begin with. Again, 5-minute major is an absolute minimum, but you can't be elbowing a guy in the head and taking advantage of him. And if you're the Rush, I don't know. Maybe I'm old school. That's an opportunity to step up and make an impact and show you want to be on this team and you want to fight for the guys beside you in the room. I didn't like how that one played out.
Maybe it carries over into the regular season. We'll have to see. And for the record, I know Tim Dillon brought it up last week on our show about the Las Vegas guy who's now been replaced by Hammer Jackson. Like you saw, a face-off guy got taken advantage of in Ignacio. The team stood up for him. So I see your point with that. I like that. All right, so now let's get to – I want to talk about the Rush's future just this year. Everyone can say, oh, well, they're going to be awesome this year. Well, duh. But I'm going to ask you, what is the benefit of keeping much of the same core guys and not making many major moves unless it's just getting draft picks? What do you think? How do you think that helps the Rush by staying under the radar once again?
You just have to have a cohesive group to win in this league. Look at Buffalo and how long they've stuck together. Think about it. Go back to 2016. Dane Smith loses in that championship game. And even you go on to 2019 and stuff like that. But the Buffalo Bandits stuck together, right?
Yes.
And credit to Jugger, all those guys that have put that team in place and kept them together because they're such a cohesive unit, because they don't have to worry about chemistry year after year. That's what makes them successful. So if the Rush want to get back to the days where it was just automatic that Matthews, Church, those guys were leading the way because they didn't have to worry about chemistry, you need to keep the same guys around. You have to have them comfortable playing together. And now there's no excuses. You can't make an excuse for not being sharp night one. You better be ready to go, and you better be ready to compete because the league's gotten a lot better this year. The top teams have gotten a lot tougher, and now the expectations are a lot higher. Last year, you're playing with house money getting to the finals. This year, the expectations, you're lifting a trophy in June.
Yes. And especially, I remember that iconic, because I was noticing in real time when, I think it was Chiliano and Quinlan just staring on, kind of like a Stephon Diggs moment, where he's just watching the parade, and they're visibly pissed off. Because again, that people don't realize the game 3 last year in the finals, the second half, it was what? You couldn't believe they got shut down like that after getting so far. So like you said, day one would be awesome. So how does, in your opinion, how do the Rush compare to Vancouver and even Buffalo? Because obviously Vancouver's out west, and there's no conferences, but how do you think the Rush stack up?
I think they stack up the same they did last year, and it's going to come down to who's taking steps forward. I think you can look at that, and let's be realistic. Buffalo still has the better offensive pieces, and Vancouver has the top goaltender in the world.
Yes.
So where do the Rush have an advantage? I think it's their depth. I think it's top to bottom. That's a lineup who anyone can pop off on any given day. And I think that the Rush win if player 1 through 17 are battling harder than anyone else's depth. That's how I see it. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I remember last year, the Rush, I trusted them the most on the road. I don't know how the road record was. I didn't look it up before the show. But I trust them the most to stay together because you don't, like you said, you don't know who's going to step up. Which actually leads me to one of my final questions here, and then I have a surprise question for you. But who do you think might break out? Because I've heard a lot of Austin Shanks, and I get why people would say that. But do you think there's another player that might break out? Do you think Shanks even needs to break out? Who do you think could be the star this year?
How does Austin Shanks break out? He had
that's what I'm saying.
60 assists 2 years ago, and then he was top 3, top 4 in team in scoring.
Then pick someone else
overtime. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm not going with Austin Shanks.
Fair enough.
He ain't breaking out. I think you want someone like Brock Haley to take that next step. I think he's definitely has the opportunity to have a breakout year and play huge minutes. And I agree with Dawson. I think that Levi Anderson has that opportunity, but he's got to be better than Clark Walter. And you got to do the things that Clark Walter does, right? Clark Walter crashes and banks. Clark Walter scores clutch goals. Clark Walter is a versatile player who rarely gets caught on the wrong side of the ball. I think that there was a lot of good in Levi Anderson's game, and there's still things to work on, right? But that's a kid. He's going to hit. He's not a kid. It's a guy who's hitting the gym. He gives a damn. He is going to, work as hard as anyone to get better, and I think he's got that opportunity. But if you're going to tell me who's going to pop off, I'm picking Brock Haley 7 days to Sunday.
And Pat asked, do you think? These questions right here are not my forte, so I'll just ask.
Pat, I think the answer is no, man. Look at how many lefty D guys they got. I don't know if you want to play with fire. You've got guys like Boudreau, Barnable, already your transition threats. I think Accione's going to surprise some people if he gets clicking. You've got enough D guys who can play forward. I think Levi Anderson, in theory, if they would have got him locked into playing defense last year, would have been awesome. But I think now you got to commit to him being a full-time forward. And that's my opinion.
I have a question for you. Are you an Oilers fan?
I worked for the Oilers, and so I grew up a Flames fan as a kid. I don't have a favorite NHL team. I'm not someone who's going to go buy a jersey. I just like players. But yeah, I generally enjoy the Oilers now. I think that meeting a lot of those players definitely helped.
Sure. So I just got to ask you your general thoughts and excitement for NLL Unbox this year, because I know you dabble in the Edmonton stuff. So, like, what is your thoughts on Unbox game?
I think it's great, right? Edmonton's a market that the league should be in, can be in, has the opportunity to be in. I think the matchup's good. I just really hope that, the Edmonton lacrosse fans actually pull through, right? I think that Alberta likes to talk a big game when it comes to they want an NLL team. Well, show up, fill the barn, and you'll get an NLL team. I think that's pretty much a guarantee.
That's why I tell Philadelphia fans, you want to keep the team, you got to show up, man. I'm going to get attacked today on social media. Cody, thank you for your time, sir. I really appreciate your transparency as always. Let's, again, keep rooting for Ethan Forgrave and Ben Foster to get some roster spots. But until that moment, keep on doing what you do. In all the hats that you wear, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show.
Hey, appreciate it, man. And a hat tip to you, right? I like that you say stuff that others won't in the lacrosse world. Keep it up. Keep having more guests on. Keep having that conversation. The game needs more of it, man. And I don't care. People are going to hate on you. People are going to hate on it. But the conversation's really good for the game. And I hope that fans, keep buying in, keep the chat buzzing, because it's awesome, man. We need more conversation every single day about the NLL for this thing to grow.
Roll crew!
You know it.
Cody Janzen, everybody. Guys, I'm telling you, that sports barn thing is so cool. So we appreciate Cody for joining this show.